G'day everyone. Today we are here doing some boots on the ground from the island of Labuan in Malaysia. Now, some of you would have heard of Labuan. A lot of people probably haven't heard of Labuan. What it is Malaysia's offshore international business hub. And if you fit the requirements, there are some pretty good perks that can come along with setting up your business out here. So what I'm going to do, I'm here for a few days. We're doing a few meetings with our partners out here, and we're also going to do a few videos and show you what it's actually like out here, because a lot of people have never been out here. They probably don't even know it exists. And we're going to talk a little bit about what is required to set up a Labuan company. We'll talk about some of the substance requirements and also some of the ongoing compliance and ongoing costs that are involved to keep the operation going. So we'll probably split this over a couple of videos, 2 or 3 videos. And hopefully after all of this, you'll have a bit of a better idea of what goes on out here. So what is Labuan? Well, it's a little tropical island off the coast of Borneo, but it's not part of Sarawak, it's not part of Sabah. It's a separate federal territory of Malaysia. But they have their own rules out here as far as financial regulations go. It is Malaysia's international business centre, and you might not be able to tell by having a look around. It's a pretty unassuming place. It's not really busy. There's only about 100,000 people here, but a lot goes on behind the scenes. There is a lot of money flowing through here, through big business, but also medium-sized business and sometimes smaller businesses as well can make this kind of structure work in certain scenarios, depending on what you're sort of looking for. The big perks of registering out here are a low tax rate, which we'll get into, and also a work permit for the director if you want to live in Malaysia. And you don't have to live in Labuan, you can live anywhere in Malaysia, but there are some conditions attached to that as well, which we'll cover later. So who is Labuan popular with? Well, we get a lot of consultants talking to us about Labuan, entrepreneurs. It's particularly popular with people who want to get residency in Malaysia, but also lower their taxes while they're at it. There are a set of prescribed business activities that you do have to adhere to if you want to get the low tax rate. So you have to be a certain kind of business. That said, just about any kind of business can incorporate in Labuan, but if you don't fall into the prescribed business categories, you might have to just do a bit of restructuring, but generally you can restructure in a way that will allow you to incorporate in Labuan. So what do you get for that? Well, you get just 3% tax on your corporate earnings. You get a work permit to live in Malaysia. And as I said above, you can live anywhere in Malaysia on that. You don't have to live in Labuan, although it is a nice relaxing place to live, but generally people will, live in KL, Penang, and elsewhere. You get access to international banking options. And the great thing about this is that it is a pretty clear offshore jurisdiction in that you do not have to have any any local ownership. It can be 100% foreign owned by you, the shareholder, being the non-Malaysian citizen. You do have to have a resident corporate secretary, that's mandatory, but your directorship can be 100% foreign as well. We're taking a bit of a walk today, and we're just coming into the area where a lot of the financial action takes place. It's called Financial Park, and this is where a lot of the trust companies are based. It's a place where a lot of the actual Labuan companies will set up their Labuan offices. So we'll give you a look at that. And while Labuan is an offshore business jurisdiction, it's not like some of the older traditional offshore centres where you can essentially incorporate and have no presence on the ground there. You need to have presence on the ground in Labuan, and this is what they're referring to as part of the substance requirements, which involves having an office, a couple of staff. Depending on your business type, this varies, but you do have to have a presence in Labuan itself. It doesn't have to be expensive, but you do have to maintain that. You have to complete an annual audit, so you must be running a legitimate operation out here. And while Labuan operates under its own financial regulator, the Labuan FSA, this agency does operate ultimately under Malaysian financial regulations. So when you're opening up bank accounts and this kind of thing, you will have to adhere to the AML, KYC regulations like you do with most banks these days. So who is the Labuan company good for? Well, we get a lot of entrepreneurs, remote business operators, people in software, people in digital marketing, consultants. A lot of the digital nomad crowd, the ones who are on sort of bigger money, I suppose, are the kind of clients that are interested in Labuan. And while generally most businesses can incorporate in Labuan with a bit of restructuring if necessary, if you are in the prescribed business list, it's going to be a lot easier. And this includes, in particular, a lot of the professional services. So if you're in accounting, legal, payroll, administrative services, agency services, management services, financial services, things like this, it's going to be a lot more straightforward when it comes to setting up out here. Now, as far as our experience goes with putting clients through the Labuan program, most clients usually fall into one of two categories. They are the people who are looking for a work permit to live out in Malaysia, because with the Labuan company, you as a director can get a work permit for 2 years, a renewable work permit, providing you can satisfy the documentation after the 2 years. But you can, in theory, renew it indefinitely to live out here in Malaysia. You can also bring your family with you and a maid as well if you wish. The other category, of course, is the people who want to lower their taxes. So if you adhere to your substance requirements, then you pay just 3% tax on your corporate earnings. So Labuan is really good for people who want a nice, clean structure to get a work permit, a residency permit out in Malaysia, but also lower their taxes without having to sort of navigate tax treaties and so forth across multiple jurisdictions, because this is a centralized registration process. You're incorporated in Malaysia, you're living in Malaysia, so your corporate residency and your tax residency are one and the same place, which makes things a lot more straightforward when it comes to tax planning. Another perk of setting up in Labuan is that in recent years there has been a bit of tinkering to the taxation policy in Malaysia. There's been some changes to the way dividends are taxed, and there's been some changes to the way capital gains are taxed as well. But whenever these changes come through, and in these two cases just mentioned, there has been an exemption in place for Labuan companies. So when it comes to Malaysia and tax policy, in a way, Labuan is a bit of a protected species, which is really good and offers nice certainty for those that are getting set up with a Labuan company. It's not really designed for the small hobby business, as there are a bit of ongoing compliance and ongoing running costs associated with the substance requirements. So another thing I wanted to show you in this video and the upcoming videos on Labuan is what it's actually like here on the ground, because most people have never actually been here unless you've come here to set up a company, which by the way can be done 99% remotely. But when all is said and done with a visa process, you will have to come out here to get your new work permit endorsed. So it's definitely not KL, it's definitely not Penang, it really is its own place. It's not a whole lot going on out here, but there is still plenty of activity. You have got enough amenities to live a good life. There's good business infrastructure, of course. There's coffee shops everywhere, the little kopitiams, the Malaysian coffee shops. Big Chinese community, Malay community, and a big indigenous community as well. This area that I'm showing now gets pretty busy at night time. All the chairs and tables come out into the centre. People sit around, eat their food, drink beer, listen to music, and just enjoy themselves. There's an airport nearby. You might be able to hear a bit of that in the background just now with a plane taking off overhead. And flights on. There it is. volume to it. And flights are actually very cheap out of here over to Borneo and other places in Malaysia. My ticket from Miri in Borneo cost me about 50 bucks, I think. And it was just a 40-minute flight. It's very laid back, it's uncrowded. There's a bit of an expat community here, mostly tied to the oil and gas industry, which is a big industry in this part of Malaysia and Borneo. And the cost of living, while it is probably a little bit higher than Sarawak, it's still probably a little bit lower than the big cities in Peninsular Malaysia. It's certainly not, I wouldn't call it expensive at all. Quite cheap, in fact. For example, my morning coffee this morning, the Coffee C, that cost me 250 ringgit, which would be probably about, I don't know, 50, 60 US cents. Labuan also has duty-free status, and this is actually very attractive to people who live in Brunei, which is just across the water in Borneo, where a lot of people actually live there and commute to Labuan as well. There's no alcohol in Brunei, but when you come to Labuan, you can take 2 litres back with you when you go into Brunei. So that's what a lot of people do. And because it's duty-free here, it's very cheap as well compared to other parts of Malaysia where you can buy alcohol, but where the taxes can be a little bit high. So if this is the first video you've ever seen about Labuan, you probably do have a lot of questions. A lot of them would be, what are the substance requirements I keep talking about? Well, we're going to cover that in another video. We're going to go into more detail, explain what you have to do and what is the ongoing compliance and running costs involved with keeping a Labuan company going as well. We're also going to explain more about the setup process. What do you have to do to get set up in Labuan? Because it is a bit of a process. There's quite a few steps you have to go to, in all honesty, to get incorporated in Labuan and get your work permits and all of that is required, particularly if you want to live over in Peninsular Malaysia and outside of Labuan itself. We're going to explain all of that to you, but once you go through that process, you're up and running and you're away and you're living the life you wanted to live. So generally, if this is something you are interested in, it's usually worth following the process through. It's nothing to worry about. We provide assistance from beginning to end. We help you with everything. We let you know what has to be signed, when you have to do this, when you have to do that, and so on. We've also got a really good team based in Labuan, which is the trust company. They are the corporate secretaries that are mandated to be attached to every Labuan company setup. We've got a really good team here. I've been out here meeting with them this week. So rest assured, you will be in capable hands. All right, guys, we're going to wrap this video up here. Now, if you're interested in learning more about Labuan, you can head over to offshoreinasia.com. We've got a bit of info up on our website there. You can, of course, drop us an email contact form there with any questions you might have. Or if you want to have more of an in-depth consulting session to help you work through how this structure might work in relation to what else you've got going on in your business life, investments, so on, how it's all going to fit together, we offer consulting calls. So you can go to our website and click on book a call, and we can clear up any questions you might have about getting set up here in Labuan. So there's going to be a couple more videos in this series. Keep an eye out for them over the next couple of weeks. And other than that, we're signing off here from Labuan, Malaysia. Catch you later.